Hello.
Hello.
What's up, gentlemen?
What up?
What's going on? Welcome everyone to THF Extra Point, where we talk about everything in the NFL, fantasy football, and more sometimes. I mean, we have no control over what comes out of our mouths.
We'll have
right?
the and more today when we talk about the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That tracks. That tracks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't recognize the faces on your screen right now, I'm Wakko. This is Daddy Dabs. Right below me is Januvial. And then we've got Ray over there in the other corner, all part of the THF Hub and the THF Hub fantasy football team, or league, rather, I should say, and just avid football nuts. So that's why we're here in front of you today. We're talking week 3 of the NFL and all the craziness that ensued this week. Who wants to lead us off with the winners and losers? Who shit the bed this week, fellas?
Yeah. Like me and Dabs did pretty hard.
Dude.
Now, bro, I literally went against like the highest scoring. I went against Tyreek Hill and Mostert. He might as well had a chain too. And then all the players I decided not to play, I went off on my bench. And I gave Justin Fields one more week to prove me wrong, and he shit the bed. So I immediately dropped him. It said, "Warning, you cannot drop someone." I was like, "Okay, I guess I gotta wait to drop him." And then I dropped him after.
You didn't even wait.
So
you didn't even wait for Black Monday when all the coaches get fired at the end of the season.
Yeah.
You didn't even
Out.
wait, man. They told him after the game, like, dude, you're gone.
So I will admit that you were right, Dabs, about Justin Fields. You were right. Maybe he comes back and he's better at the end of the season, but last season he was doing so good. I thought he was going to keep improving, but now I'm just running with CJ Stroud for the rest of the season.
And you were right about Stroud. So
yes, sir. Yeah,
so
I'm
far,
liking
so
him.
far.
So
what was that Cardinals coach back in the day? He's like, they were who we thought they were. You know what I'm talking about? Dennis Green.
Yeah.
They were who we thought they were. It's all fired up, but that's we got some of that going on in the NFL right now, aren't they?
Yeah, the Bears shit the bed. It's bad. It's bad news, Bears. There.
I will say there was some really bad like drops though. Like Justin Fields was bad, don't get me wrong, but the whole team was pretty bad. I mean, there were some times where Justin Fields was throwing dimes down the field and I just saw DJ Moore hit his hands and just fell out, and that happened like 3 times during the game.
Oh yeah, the whole team. I mean,
yeah.
Not good.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the number one crap the bed absolutely get decimated, embarrassed. They should just sell the team, fire Sean Payton, because it did not make a difference. But the Denver Broncos, more like the dumpster fire Broncos, they are by far, without a doubt, the worst team in football, and it's not even close. This week we get probably the worst matchup in NFL history with the Chicago Bears and the Denver Broncos.
And what night are they playing?
They are playing on.
It can't be a primetime game.
It is absolutely not a primetime game.
Okay, yeah, no, it's a noon game.
Yeah, and so they are
probably won't be televised outside of Chicago.
Sunday at 1:00. Probably again the worst matchup in the history of the NFL, at least since the merger.
It probably should be a Thursday night game, because isn't that kind of the knock on Thursday night games, is they're always terrible matchups.
This will be a good one. This Thursday will be good.
What do we got this Thursday?
We have
Green Bay and Detroit.
Lions at Green Bay for the divisional matchup. But yeah, any team that allows 70 points against them, even though Miami has an explosive defense, explosive offense, which we're going to talk about, it's just embarrassing. Like it's week 3 and they should already be looking at changing everything up. Russell Wilson is a corpse of what he used to be. it's honestly it's embarrassing. It's like watching the JV JV freshmen, face off against, actual NFL players. It's unbelievable.
What's funny about that though, this is the week that Russell Wilson actually looked halfway decent fantasy wise. Because he actually, there's something to be said. Fantasy does not always translate to real NFL, right? No. And it's like, some of the teams that get beat right out of the gate, the quarterback has to keep throwing.
Yeah, since they were losing by so much, it gave Russell the opportunity to get us at least some points for any people starting him. So
yeah, because I just picked him up. I just picked him up. I've been starting to get nervous about Dak, so I've been looking for a new fantasy quarterback, and Russell kind of caught my eye. And
I got Anthony Richardson. If you want him,
let's talk about some bench trades. Come on, buddy. I got stuff on my bench. Most of them are injured.
He'll give you Mike Williams.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how many primary weapons are out for the season already. We're going into week 4, and there's already teams that are just blown up. You really got to be keeping an eye on the waiver, because you never know which zero is going to become your next hero. Look at Jerome Ford, for example. I picked him up off of waivers because I had a pretty crap first 2 weeks, and he put in work for me. He was my leading running back. He was, other than my 2 starting wide receivers, he was the only offensive player I had on my he was one of the only offensive players on my starters to actually put up double digits. So I got very lucky in picking him up, because every fantasy league in the country was fighting over Jerome Ford. No one ever expected that to happen on a team with Nick Chubb.
No, of course not. Yeah, the injuries have been mounting, and I feel like we have injury conversations every year, and we always say, like, I don't remember it getting bad, it being this bad. Like, it feels like that's a conversation that happens every year over the last several years. Is it getting worse?
I mean, I think it mainly seems worse because I feel like so many running backs have gotten injured, and it's hurting everyone specifically at that one position a lot. Like, there's been so many of them, especially on the Ravens this year. It's been ridiculous for the Ravens. And I can't remember it last year being that bad, but we do have a lot of injuries every year. I mean, it's football. I mean, it happens, but
protect your ACLs.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers out the gate, everything with him happening spiraled out of control after that, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, it's every year players get bigger and stronger. And that's going to lead to heavier injuries. No matter how far we advance medically, you can't prevent injuries like what happened to Nick Chubb, for example. Leg, no matter how strong of a player you are, no matter how big of a guy, legs are not supposed to bend that way.
Yeah.
There's really not much you can do about it. The NFL is their big primary focus, and rightfully so, is on concussions. But it's a violent game. There's really you can't really prevent these injuries in the nature that they're happening. Really, the only way you can for preventative maintenance is to make sure your guys are conditioned, and make sure they're exercising and they're stretching properly, and they're cooperating with the training staff, etc. That's the type of thing that prevents your day-to-day injury. Your strained hamstrings and stuff like that. But when you get a 250-pound plus, lineman going down on your leg, there's no amount of training or medicine that can prevent that from, breaking.
Yeah. There's certain injuries that are not gonna matter how hard you train, how hard you do. But I will say, speaking of hamstrings, though, what was it, like 5-10 years ago or so, where the players got a lot of concessions in some of their player versus owner, the Players Association versus the owners. Like, it wasn't that long ago that they got a lot of concessions as far as how much they have to practice, Like the two-a-days went away. Like so many things made it lighter on the player. Like they practice a lot of days without pads and touch practice, walkthroughs and stuff like that. Like how much of the injuries that we're seeing now have to do with some of that, like taking it easy in practice? As violent of a game as this is, don't you want these guys going hardcore all the time?
I mean, like you got to spread it out a little bit,
and it depends on the type of the practice. You know, that there's really no, you're not seeing a lower rate of injury compared to back when you're not seeing a higher rate of injury compared to how it used to be. It's correlation doesn't always equate causation, right? So you can say, oh, you know, they're practicing less, but they're still getting injured just as much. Well, they're not getting injured more than they were back then. The nature of the injury is different. But really it progresses with, you know, medicine advances every year. The training staff, they come out of school, they're rotating through, they're learning all sorts of new stuff. We live in a day and age with so much information and so much evidence-based practice that, you know, they can stretch better, they can condition better, and they can do things more efficiently with less practice. You know, are you getting a trade-off? Probably, but I don't think less practice is what's causing more injuries.
Okay. Interesting. It's, you know, something I've always wondered, because we're not too far away from that. And I do feel like every year we're talking about more and more injuries, you know, to a certain extent. You know, I'm not keeping a chart on it or anything, but it just seems like fantasy wise, it's getting harder and harder to field a roster from week to week. You know, it's like every week somebody else on every team is hurt. And it's like, I don't remember this being that big of a problem back in the day. But we're talking a lot about injuries. We don't even have Dabs. You got an injury report for us?
Yeah.
This week?
Yes, sir. The new ones, Derek Carr is out with shoulder injury. What was it? What was the sprain?
Going? Oh, I don't know.
Is he's already declared out?
It'll be, yeah. I don't know if he's been officially declared out yet. I think they have until, we'll see what Thursday's practice is. But right now it's still swollen and everything, so I think they'll keep him out a few weeks. Jimmy Garoppolo has a concussion. Gus Edwards
in protocol, or is he already out for the week?
He is in protocol. Gus Edwards is kind of in concussion protocol. He was taken out of the game, assessed for a concussion, went back, and then after the game they said he was being evaluated, and they're still saying he's being evaluated. So he's not on protocol, but he's also not practicing.
Did he come back in the game after going to the tent?
I thought he did, but I might be wrong on that.
Because that would be a big no-no. Like that's kind of that, like Ray was saying earlier, that's right. The NFL's
so
big thing right now.
Come back in, then he probably didn't come back in.
Yeah, that's the one thing they're not playing games with.
It's not a team doctor; it's a third party. Unrelated. Yeah. So they can get cleared, but usually they're not. Usually, if you're out to the point where you go to the tent for a concussion protocol, you're not coming back in. I believe Jimmy finished the game though.
Jimmy Garoppolo did, yeah. Mike Williams tore his ACL. He's out for the season. Jonathan Mingo is in concussion protocol. Wide receiver for the Panthers. Rashad Bateman hurt his hamstring, but who's surprised? Who raised your hand if you're surprised Rashad Bateman got injured? Nah.
When any Ravens player gets injured, I just don't question it. I'm like, yep, that's usual.
Yeah.
Whole team's gone.
Those are the new ones for this week, the big new ones for this week. Also, Mahomes' ankle is not quite.
Yeah, it turned out to be a bunch of nothing, though, luckily for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
During practice, we lost Trayvon Diggs on the Cowboys.
Yes, Trayvon Diggs.
Out for the year. Of course, that's not a fantasy concern unless you've got the Cowboys defense who got embarrassed by Arizona's offense this week. We won't talk too much about that. Unless you guys really want to. That's fine too.
Well, I have a little bit regarding it, but not like dumping on the Cowboys.
You don't want to beat me over the head with it then?
Listen, they're going to face my Patriots this week. I'm hoping to have a victory lap next week, but I know that's probably not going to happen.
Like me and Jason, go ahead. You can go ahead.
So just another thing to note on the topic of concussions: Jalen Waddle, he was out week 3, but he should be back week 4
on a very important week, by the way, where I was going against Tyreek Hill and Mostert, and they had a 70-point game. I didn't have Waddle playing, but yeah, it sucked. But at least he's not out for the season, bro. That would suck if he was out for the season. At least it's just probably the one game.
Right.
I was going to say about the Dallas and the Cardinals game. Me and Jason were talking about it. You know, it's just a super fluke thing. It never will happen again. No, I was completely embarrassed as a Cowboys fan. Let me tell you, watching that fucking game, I was so confused watching it, what was happening. It felt like I was watching a Madden game. It just wasn't real. I don't understand even after watching the clips over and over again. But all I can say is last year, the Chiefs lost against the Colts. So
I think they also lost to the Texans, right?
I mean,
I think it's more on, look, it's surprising for that Arizona did so well instead of, you know, how bad Dallas played. Well, maybe it was Arizona just stepped it up, and they're not as bad as everybody thought.
Dallas played. It was how bad Dak played. We keep ignoring the fact that Dak is infamous for throwing red zone interceptions. He threw a wide open interception in the end zone.
But that was the very end of the game. You can't blame the whole game on that. Now, granted, you're right that Dak doesn't throw that they were set up. Dak doesn't throw that interception. They were set up for a late run and to win that game. But it shouldn't have been that close of a game to begin with. But you got a scorned Arizona team that just gave up a 21-point lead and lost to the Giants. They haven't won a game yet. Like they came out with a fire, and they came out with a fire against a Cowboy team that had a major hole in defense that they weren't expecting. They came out on fire against the Dallas Cowboy team that was missing 3 of their offensive linemen that were all last-minute scratches. You know, like there was a lot going on Dallas, and that's not an excuse because the theme of the NFL is next man up, and the Cowboys have depth. Yep. So it's not an excuse. Like they should have still won that game.
Right. But the point I'm trying to make, yes, it was at the very end of the game. However, the 2 wins Dallas has this season, they took heavy advantage of explosive offense, getting up on a team. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's always harder for any team when they're coming from behind. However, with how good Dallas is, you should have a quarterback that can come back from a deficit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And we talk all the time. I reference the Bills doing it too. They have all these things going for them, but they can't convert it, right? Mm-hmm. Chances
both the Bills and Cowboys are terrible about playing from behind.
An elite generational, Super Bowl caliber quarterback marches back down the field and wins that game. That's the point I'm trying to make.
We're supposed to be a Super Bowl team this year, so we can't lose games. I don't think it's going to happen with Dak. I'm sorry for you guys, but I do not think Dallas is going to have any success with Dak. The thing is that this really
how good
makes...
as he is, he still has this problem where he just can't convert and he screws up in the red zone, and that's how you lose. That's how you lose football games.
They have to win. He's not
Ryan Tannehill, huh?
They have to beat the Patriots next week, because if we actually are a Super Bowl caliber team, we can't lose that game next week to the Patriots, because we have to be able to beat good teams and we have to be able to beat bad teams. We're supposed to have the best defense in the league and a top tier offense. We can't lose these types of games. So I think that next week game against the Patriots is going to be really important for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It will be.
It's gonna be interesting because New England's defense is really good, but having similar problems. Max still has a problem with throwing the game away.
Also, Mac is quite the dirty player, isn't he, Ray?
Oh man, let's talk about that real
let's talk
quick. Because
about that.
did you see about the what was his name posting it on social media about Max smacking him in the balls?
It was Sauce Gardner. He hit
Sauce
him in
Gardner,
the dick.
yeah.
He was just like bop, and it's like it's not just a little fluke thing. Like he does stuff like that all the time. Like when defenders are running over him, he'll grab their like shoelaces and pull them and stuff.
He's got
like
a history,
and he'll go for the knees on tackles. He is a dirty player. But as a Patriots fan, I gotta ask you: do you admit and go, yeah, hey, Mac Jones is a dirty player, or do you double down and go, hell yeah, he's a dirty player, and that's my damn quarterback?
I mean,
that's my quarterback, man.
There's been a couple. So there is a history. I think a couple of them from earlier seasons were a bunch of nothing,
young and dumb.
Yeah, like the one with I think it was either against the Jaguars or the Panthers where he twisted the guy's ankle.
Yeah,
it was a tackle move. It was a tackle move, and it became a whole big issue. I'm actually looking at the story now, but yeah, I mean, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. There's nothing I can say that's gonna.
Sauce Gardner took to Twitter X, if you're okay with calling it that now.
Yeah. The site formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. He took and posted like just so y'all see it from a different angle, like because everybody was playing the angle that they couldn't tell that he did something, I guess, but you know, like he reacts to it and then pushes him, and I was like, wow. And I didn't know it was that serious, but a lot of people are saying he's got a little bit of a history of some cheap shots.
Seems like the O-line didn't even try and step up for Mac Jones at all. They're like, yeah, this guy does this shit all the time. Like most of the time, everyone will run in and be like, oh, get off my quarterback. And they're like, yeah, just let him do what he does.
Dude, yeah, that is kind of a telling. Well, it could be. It could be that they didn't even see what happened, but usually, yeah, if your quarterback gets shoved to the ground, the entire team tackles the guy that shoved him, and nobody came to Mac Jones' defense.
Yep.
In that replay,
like I mean, that's the quarterback. That's the quarterback's the star player.
So I'm on Twitter now, looking at the clip.
Some angles are a little weird, but you can clearly see that he does it. But
I didn't find one that I could see definitively that he's smacked him.
You got to see it from the side angle because most of the clips you see, you can't really see anything. But from that, I looked at a couple different angles.
The one that Gardner posted, it looks straight up. He's getting up and then he gets pushed. Like,
yeah, he gets up. Some people were saying they could see him grimace in that angle. He could grimace and then pushed him, but I don't know. I didn't dissect it in 4K.
Yeah.
Ultra.
Some people were
HD.
talking about suspensions and shit. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, they always do.
Quarterbacks don't get suspended.
Yeah, not usually. On a similar note, though, it was a very physical game. There were a couple no calls that absolutely should have been called. There was one point where they were doing a first down conversion, and after the play was blown dead, one of the Jets defenders just pretty much dribbled him, like palm to the face mask to the ground, and no whistle was blown, nothing was called. You know me, I'm always gonna side with my team, but it was really bad officiating. Really bad officiating. That no call pass interference where there was a hand to the face involved as well. It just completely overlooked.
As far as that goes, another interesting stat was, I believe it was 11 penalties were in the first two Cowboys games, and then there was, I think, 14 on the third game alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not good complimentary football.
Hammered us with penalties. And look, I'm sure that we deserved most of them, if not all of them. I mean, the truth about the NFL is that a penalty can be called on every single play. These guys are trained. Excuse me. I've had hiccups all day, so this could be an issue the rest of the show unless I get a shot glass of sugar, which I might have to go do.
The hiccup episode.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing that they say, right? A penalty can be called on pretty much every play. These players are trained to put their hands under pads discreetly, to hold discreetly, to throw people down to where it looks like they were fell on their own. There's so much that goes into the tactics on what football players do that referees could call a penalty on just about every play. So that's where, when you hear this stuff, that's when it gets so much more believable for the referees to control games, because they could just call one on every play if they really want to.
Yeah, when I played football, even in the high school level, they taught us as linemen where to grab so the ref could not see you.
Yeah. That was, look, high school's low level compared to the NFL.
Exactly. Exactly.
And they're already training that there. What do you think they're training at the NFL level? So,
but to that point where they can call a penalty on any play, right? It makes the blatant ones that they miss even worse.
Yeah.
A hold here and there, okay, you let it slide. It happens all the time. It happened with the Chiefs in the Bengals game in the playoffs last year. An absolutely botched holding call led to Kansas City scoring and winning the game. These things do control the outcomes of games. Kind of a similar aspect, but slightly unrelated. It's the same thing with umpires in baseball, with balls and strikes.
Balls and strikes are tough.
It's tough. And, you're seeing in the minor leagues now, they're switching to automatic balls and strikes. You still have a home plate umpire, where the computer decides if it's a ball or a strike, and then it tells the umpire, and the umpire calls it. Stuff like that. It's a little harder in football with penalties, in any sport with penalties. Yeah. But where do you draw the line between with umpires or referees or whatever, actually affecting the game? On the college level, for example, some of these penalties or some of these bad strikeouts, they can affect a guy's overall stats, and scholarships and things like that. On the NFL, it's like, okay, they're gajillionaires, who cares? But when it happens in the playoffs, for example, where do you draw the line, and how come referees don't have to answer to their terrible calls? That's another thing.
Yeah, that's very true. They skate out, while the players have to go up there and do a press conference and do this and this and that, and they're expected to be present on social media. Umpires, hell, half the time we don't even know their names outside of the really big ones. They just do their job.
Well, they would get a ton of hate if they did. Their social medias would be god awful.
But I know there's no accountability. I think is at least not on a public level.
Yeah,
there's no public accountability. They might have coming to Jesus meetings with their boss, in New York about their umpiring, but publicly there's nothing.
You would think, but take baseball for example. You have seasoned umpires that are missing almost 20% of calls in games here and there, and they're still employed. Like Angel Hernandez is the most famous one. He's infamous for being a terrible umpire, and he's still employed because it almost gets to a point where you can't prove the fans right. Even you have pages, you have people that are tracking every single pitch, every single call, and doing the percentages and doing the math, and the league posts them publicly. What I'm talking about on the football level, let's just say you have a game-changing, penalty call. How come the umpires don't have to be how come the referees don't have to be questioned? What was the thought process? What were the implications? What led you to make this call? They don't have to defend it. They call it, they go home. They head to the next game.
Yeah. Well, publicly that's what it is. Because I have to believe that any umpire that makes a controversial call is going to get calls from their superior the next day. Like, I have to. If that's not the system, then I'm pissed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing, is we don't know. There's really no transparency. There's really no
Transparency. That's the problem.
And like you said, accountability.
I don't need the umpire to come out and get flogged in public, but I mean, there's no transparency is the better way to look at it. There's none.
I think press conference, like a press conference format, would be kind of interesting. Like I said, you with a game changing call, for example. Oh, ref, what was the walk us through this, blah blah blah. Coaches do it. They get walk through plays all the time. And in some cases it could help the case, other cases it wouldn't, but at the end of the day, that what they say goes, and that's that.
I think that's a lot of the reason that a lot of the networks now have previous umpires and previous referees or whatever on their staff. And they do like the, when Joe Aikman or Troy Aikman and Joe Buck can't get together on which way a call is going, they go over to Blandina, or which one?
Gene Steratore is one of them.
Okay, yeah, or Blandino or whatever, and they ask them, like, what do you think the call should be? And he's got all the info, the best insider info that you can get, because that used to be his job. He was a head ref, so I think that's why they've gone to that, to kind of simmer down some of the public distrust of the zebras on the field.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how it works, because there's also biases too, because as a referee, when you're making calls on stuff like unsportsmanlike conduct, that's completely up to you when you're calling it or not, because there's people all the time that get into fights in front of everyone, and when it's two people doing it together, they usually don't call anything. Sometimes they'll call it on both people, but it's like they kind of wait until they personally decide when it's too much. And that adds some type of bias to referees as well. And when you get that in the NFL, it makes it kind of weird, because then you see a lot of quarterbacks such as like Aaron Rodgers that have been in the league for so long, and he's like friends with all the referees. And of course, we're human. We're going to have bias towards certain people. If we like them, we're not going to want to call something on them. And you have quarterbacks that people don't care about that are taking truck hits by linemen, and they don't call nothing. And then someone tickles Aaron Rodgers with a little feather one day, and then boom, immediately flag or whatever. And
personal
it's like,
foul.
Dude, there's totally a bias when it comes to stuff like that.
Tom Brady, for example, think about how many hits that were just missed on other people that, lesser hits on Brady, they're getting called.
Yeah.
Brady's
a good example. Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, these are
there is some subjectivity in there. Another one straight in the rules is taunting. That's a terrible rule. It's a terrible penalty. Where do you draw the line? And, what's the difference between taunting and celebrating?
If a guy does the eat me in another guy's face on his way out of the end zone, but then the defense intercepts the ball and goes and takes a pose at the end zone with
the whole team, everyone.
Yeah. It's like, come on, that's not taunting.
One leads to a 15-yard penalty for no reason.
It's like, come on, get rid of it. It's a no fun league. Get rid of it.
It's ridiculous. But
we spend a lot of time on. Hey, let's look at pick'ems real quick. Let's see.
We don't have to.
I'm back in the game, boys. We're back.
We don't have to look at those. We got a brand new winner in pick'ems this week. Why is it? There it is. Took a minute. It was a little. We got a brand new winner. It is not one of our podcast team here. Q-Swin, congratulations on your first dub in weekly pick'ems. Couple things that stick out. Not many people had any faith in Green Bay. I'm
the only one that picked Indy to win.
You're the one who picked Houston to win, and we'll talk about that more shortly.
Yeah. We got Green Bay was a last-minute upset. Not many people picked Cleveland to win.
No one picked Arizona.
Nope.
Yeah, nobody picked Arizona to win. That's going to make next week's pick'ems a lot different. Do you think people are going to go out there and pick New England over Dallas?
So I'm watching the lines. I was going to talk about this in our betting segment. But yeah, it's a tough matchup because Patriots have a good defense, but their offense isn't all there. It depends on which Dallas offense shows up. If they blow doors and they score and they go up by 3 possessions, and then it's over. But if it's a tight game and New England holds, if we hold up defensively, it can make for an interesting game. So
I actually think that this is going to be a close game. I don't think the Cowboys are going to blow them out by any means, especially with the things that they're kind of trying to get back in place, get the team back in on a rhythm again after last week. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way. So
the measurement right now is Dallas put up 30 points on the Jets, and the Patriots put up 15, and it was like a struggle. The spread right now, it's Dallas -7. That's a very big spread. I'm watching the spread. I want to see if I see a New England plus 3.5 dogs on the road. That's generally an interesting line. But at -7 right now for the Cowboys, it's a no-brainer. You're obviously going to bet that. The over-under is set at 43, which that's interesting to me. Because like you said, it could be a low-scoring game.
That game has all the makings of what we saw last night with the Bengals and who the hell played last night? Bengals and Rams. 16-19. You know what I mean? Like I could if 43 is the over-under on the Cowboy game, I could easily see a lot of people going under.
Yeah, I made the mistake of betting the under on the Cowboys Jets game, and I missed by half of a point. But this is a higher total. Again, it depends because there's nothing stopping the Cowboys from putting up 30 points on.
Yeah,
there's nothing stopping them. So it really depends on.
Cowboys offense is bipolar, bro.
They're their own worst enemy.
Yeah, like their defense is. I mean, the Patriots are on a different scale, having very similar issues. The defense and the special teams, they're excellent. But the offense isn't there yet, even though it should be. There's a lot going for it, but they're not playing complementary football. Up until this game with Dallas, they had been playing complementary football. If the defense capitalizes, the offense gets, if the defense gets an opportunity, offense capitalizes. Special teams has been rock solid. They're not missing field goals, etc. When the offense throws the ball away, when the offense causes turnovers, you're going to lose games that way. That's not complementary football.
Yeah, for sure. Gwinky with 11 right. Gwinky. Lobster says she's way too low on that list.
She has a sit question.
I was going to circle back to it, but we can hit it now. Who should I start this week? Olave or Amari Cooper?
Olave without a question.
Yeah, Olave
without a question.
Olave.
Just look at the matchups, but more importantly, look at the depth. Dallas, Amari's way down on that list.
Yeah, Amari had a good game last week because they're going against Tennessee, and Tennessee gives every wide receiver a good game because their defense
they're like the
terrible.
31st ranked pass defense.
Their
run defense is very good, but their pass defense is not.
Yeah, it's I think Olave over Cooper was the advice that I gave her even this week, though, just because Olave has been the better wide receiver, the more consistent one.
I think it also depends, because they just lost Carr, so it really depends. It's up in the air who will favor. It'll probably be Olave, but we'll have to see.
Jameis,
I think the ceiling's higher with Olave.
There's
Jameis will do what Jameis does. He'll throw some interceptions. He'll be happy either way. He's just a happy guy. So
yeah.
There's also something to be said for momentum too, and Cleveland coming out and really having a good game might just be a catalyst to have some more. I don't remember who they're playing next week, but we'll look at that here in just a second. Any other games on the pick'ems that really kind of stick out?
Yeah. I mean, mainly just the Houston game, bro. The Houston game was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I know
we're-
Firestorm wants to talk about this, so let's go ahead with that.
All right. So we waited till week 3 to start our primetime parlay for the show. Just because, just like last season, bets have been a mess this season. So get our feet wet, kind of get used to the lines and how games have been. So we started off week 3 with a 4-leg parlay. We had the under 39.5 in the Cleveland Tennessee game that hit. We had Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown. He's done so in 12 consecutive games. That hit on Thursday night. We had the over 43 in the Cowboys and Cardinals game, and that hit by half of a point. The same margin that I missed the Dallas under the week prior. And the absolutely craziest pick that nobody saw coming. The betting public had 93% of the money against this pick. The Houston Texans on the money line, and it hit. And I was very skeptical. I figured, oh, this is $10 out my ass.
Texted me right after we finished the show and said, "What the fuck is up with Janu?"
I said it in the backstage at the end of the show. I said, "What, that pick is gonna screw us."
Listen, bro, I win the most money out of all of us gambling in football.
Yeah, and you know what? I stand corrected. I'm never gonna bet against Januviel. So for those keeping track, our 2023-2024 season total bet so far is $10, and that $10 parlay 4-leg hit us $222.65.
Nice.
So
That's
we are
good.
hoping to keep that luck going. Even if we don't, that one parlay has funded the segment for the rest of the season.
The rest of the year
So,
we're covered. It's house money.
Yeah.
house money, baby. Yes, sir.
How
much money did that-
paychecks this season?
How much money did that pick put it up? Because, like I said, I don't use that app, but I'm sure because when you think of bets, you want to take something that gives you a lot more better of a payout. So, like,
Yeah, so that Houston pick really put us up high. I don't expect we'll be seeing 200 plus. I mean, we might. I don't expect to be seeing $200+ payouts, but that 4-leg parlay was plus 2,126 odds. So $10 netted us $222+.
Nice.
So I know you bet with underdog where it's just over unders. So it's a little similar, but this, DraftKings is kind of the universal. I think it's the most commonly used sportsbook. But we have, you have over unders, you have money lines, you have player props. So figure for the purpose of the show, we can have broader, broader options. So on that note, why don't we place our primetime parlay for week 4?
I wish I had time to look something up. I'll have to pick something last minute again. Thank you, babe.
If we want, we can circle back to it.
Again. Yeah, circle back.
All right. Take a second to look through and pick an over and under, a money line, a point spread, or a player prop.
Can you do just like an over and under on any player, or how does it work? Because on underdogs, there's only specific people.
So depending on the player you're looking for, let's use the Dallas game, for example. So you have scoring props, you have receiving props, you have rushing props, you have all sorts of options. For example, you can pick Tony Pollard anytime touchdown. So like the odds for that, let me find them. Looking it up now. So, for example, I'm just throwing a number out. I gotta pull it up, but Tony Pollard anytime touchdown. The odds are plus plus 400, right?
Pretty high. All right.
So that affects it and goes towards the rest of the parlay as well. But again, you can just take the over under on pretty much anything. So if you're looking at, receiving yards, for example, or rushing yards, Tony Pollard plus 69.5. If he hits 70 yards, the bet hits,
Yeah.
So why don't we circle back? Everyone take a second to kind of look at the, you can pull up the odds and stuff.
So just like them, they give you a specific over amount based on what they predict, or do you give it like whatever, yardage you think someone's going to hit?
So with an over under on yardage, for example, it's going to be a set number. And it may fluctuate here and there. And some sports books have
Probably be the
alternate lines.
same, right? Or similar to the other sports books.
Yeah.
Or sports apps, I mean.
Yeah, my problem is I haven't downloaded the DraftKings yet, which I probably should.
Well, I had a money line pick, but I might just do it over under since that's what I mainly do.
If we want to segue and give that some room to breathe, I know that Dabs kind of was looking forward to this topic. So,
yeah.
Are you a Swiftie?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Me too.
Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about that, man. There's a lot of people talking about that.
What is going on, bro? I saw a great
America's
meme right
Next
before.
Power Couple. That's what
Bro, I saw a meme right before I went live, and it was Taylor Swift at the game, and she was I don't know if it was before or after the game, but she was sitting there. It might have been next to Mahomes, and they zoomed in on her knees, and she had some bruises on her knees, and it's like, yeah, Kelsey's already putting her to work.
Sometimes
like,
to go off in the NFL, I guess all you need is a woman to back you up. And I guess for him, that was a Taylor Swift. And then he went out there and got himself a TD.
His jersey sales went up 400%.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. How many Swift fans are watching the NFL now?
A lot.
How many people did she bring over?
Bro.
Jesus Christ,
Apparently,
bro.
He's an industry plant.
My girlfriend was showing me TikToks that a lot of these women didn't even know who he was, and so they're telling their husbands like, "Oh, did you ever hear about this guy? She's gonna make his career." And the husbands are just like, "Are you what?"
Okay, yeah, if you say so.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't already the best tight end.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. They freak out. It's
Taylor
hilarious.
put him on. Who's this Kelsey guy? What the hell?
Yeah.
Best tight end in the league since Gronk.
Yeah.
And
he's got all the makings of being better than Gronk, but time will tell, right?
So is that gonna be Katie's new favorite player in the NFL is Kelsey, or is it still gonna be Joe Burrow?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think she's off Joe Burrow by now. Yeah, it's crazy. Like there's so much. I don't understand why this is such a big deal. This happened to Tony Romo when he was dating Jessica Simpson.
Yeah,
it was like that's all anybody wanted to talk about was Tony Romo and Jessica Simpson. It's like
it's just because it's Taylor Swift, bro. It's just because it's Taylor Swift. She's just so huge.
Yeah, I mean yeah, it's insane. It's insane. But yeah,
it's random.
I love the memes that are like pitting Brittany Mahomes against Taylor Swift all of a sudden. It's like because they can't exist together because she's so much bigger than Brittany Mahomes.
NFL Housewives. It's gonna become a show.
Bro, it's hilarious to me.
Like
it's
the next Kardashian
so funny.
Show. We're
it's
just
so
keep
funny.
Stacking them up.
It's so funny.
Just don't bring any of Deshaun Watson's girlfriends over. Anyway,
yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Did you hear Bill Belichick's comments about it?
No.
So he was on the sports talk here in Boston, and they asked him. He said, "What do you thought of the whole thing?" And he says, "Well, Travis has made a lot of catches in his career, and this is probably the biggest one yet."
Yeah, he's a Swiftie.
He's a confirmed Swiftie. He was at the Gillette show.
That's
hilarious. My God.
And it's funny that's Belichick that said it.
Yeah, because he's so stiff too. Like you don't expect him to comment on like issues like that, you know?
Yeah, so he goes on the morning show on Monday. And you know, they always ask him, you know, the serious football questions, but they usually get one in at, you know, they get a non-serious question in at the end. One of a former New England tight end is one of the hosts, so there's a little bit of you know, chemistry there, enough
I
to
got you.
get Bill to come out of his shell a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I can't wait to hear their breakup song in a few months too. That'd be great, because that's like the thing with her, right? She gets she catches a dude, Venus flytrap style, and then 6 months later, she's writing a song about how big of a jackass he is.
Yeah, this is a different type of boyfriend though.
I mean, she's had some celebrity relationships before. This is different for us because this is our realm, but
yeah,
she's had high profile relationships in the past. So,
for sure,
this is definitely not her first.
No, definitely the first type. This first type, though.
Yeah. Definitely first football player that I know of.
Superstar celebrity, you know, football player for the United States versus, you know, some British artist. Cool, everyone knows him, big deal. But like Travis Kelce and you know, I don't think anybody had Swifties becoming football fans on their 2023 bingo card.
Well, we gotta set an over and under on how long it takes for them to break up.
Seriously, we should put that to the test here. What they got bets on that on DraftKings?
They should.
I don't think so. That would be funny though.
Guaranteed Vegas does. They got odds on that relationship, bro.
More than anything else, it's just so random. Like no sports book would predict that one.
We could totally put something together for that. For sure. Let's do it.
Get all the statistics and stuff of all of our ex-boyfriends and shit.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
Height and weight. Boyfriend's age, longevity.
Everybody was going crazy about her being in the suite with Kelsey's mom, though. That's like, hey,
that proves
in there with moms. If she's with moms, you know, that's the hardest one. That's the hardest fan to get right there. Over under on how many games does she attend? There we go. That's not a bad idea.
You notice how she attended just the Bears game?
Oh yeah, she's not gonna get embarrassed by the Bears.
That would have sucked.
Poor Bears. I got a lot of relatives that are Bears fans. I hope you guys aren't watching my podcast.
There's just no hope for them this year. I'm sorry, but
it's kind of
not happening.
Cheers.
Season's over already. You're getting the first round draft pick.
It's all good. It's all good.
You want to do the parlays?
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. My parlay I was looking earlier is the Atlanta Jacksonville game, and the over under was at 43. So I'm going to take the under on that one.
Okay, let me throw that in. All right, so we're taking the under on the Falcons Jaguars game at 43. So we'll take the under on that.
Can I get an easy one like Justin Jefferson anytime touchdown?
Sure.
Yeah, it's on there.
I wanted to take Sam Laporta over on receiving yards.
Sam Laporta over on receiving yards.
It's on here. It's projected at 41.5.
What are you taking?
Over. Either that or I can take a Monterey if they don't have it.
I'm looking at it now. Hold on. Sam Laporta, receiving yards.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll hit that.
If the payout isn't as crazy as last week, I can put a different one, but we'll see. Because
No,
I
that's
have
fine.
a different one too, but it's a little bit more risky.
We can go conservative for a couple. We won big last week.
It
Let's
won't
not-
hurt, yeah.
Don't want to get crazy. Ladies and gentlemen at home, please bet responsibly and never bet with money you cannot lose. Okay.
Do not take our
gambling
advice. Trust us.
If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800.
But if you do gamble, use code Janu on Underdog Fantasy, and they'll match your deposit for free.
For deposit $5, get $200 in bonus bets.
Gamble, gamble, gamble.
I need to get that secret code there on.
Yep. And
I'm fixing to
then
switch
Wakko
that.
wants Justin Jefferson anytime touchdown.
Seems like it should be an easy one. It is Carolina, right?
Yeah, I would think so. He's kind of, he hasn't really been he's had some good games, but not what everyone was expecting. So well, I pulled that up. I'm going to take an easy one. I'm going to take the Bengals on the money line, winning outright.
Jamar Chase came back, didn't he?
Yes, sir. Yes, he did.
Points.
But T. Higgins, not some. He did better, but
Cincinnati versus Tennessee. What do you have to say about that bet, Dabs?
oh, Tennessee sucks. I don't know what stick is up their ass, but
It's a great game for Burrow.
God, their pass defense is so bad.
It's just a goal.
Tannehill is old. He's not any good. DeAndre Hopkins is washed up. He doesn't do anything. Henry only sees the field like, what do you see, 17 out of 59 on Sunday?
Yeah, I think Tyjae Spears had a lot more carries, didn't he, last week?
Yeah, this every game this season he's had more carries than.
So I got a good one. I got a good start sit for you. Or a which player would you if you are juggling two quarterbacks, say Dak Prescott, who's been struggling, but has also had some decent, and Joe Burrow, who has been super struggling and is injured. You got Joe Burrow versus Tennessee this week, who's terrible against wide receivers, against quarterbacks, whatever. Against the pass, who are you starting, Dak or Joe Burrow?
Who do the Cowboys play?
Cowboys are playing New England.
I think I'm starting Joe Burrow 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the
just
matchup.
Look at defenses, honestly. Just look at defensive matchups.
I tell you what, though, that's why I sat Dak Prescott against the Jets, and I started Mac Jones, who did great in week 1. And Dak outscored him a lot. It's like, man, these some of these quarterbacks that are on that edge of suck in fantasy.
Two words, Daniel Jones.
There's a lot of them, bro.
Yeah, you're telling me.
My God.
Man, I have him in my other league, and I started him, and he laid the goose egg, and then I benched him, and he had 42 fantasy points. God.
I think it's just
how it goes.
Too early in the year. All the quarterbacks and their teams haven't settled into a groove yet. Come week 6, 7, we're gonna know who everybody is, and quarterbacks are gonna be easier. But man, right now damn it. The people that you expect to be good are not good. The people are good or aren't expected to be, and everything except for the one thing we knew for sure. Zach Wilson sucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're so right.
That's it. We know that.
I would not be surprised if Tennessee, if they lose the next 2, maybe 3 games, if they'll try to shop Henry.
I mean, it wouldn't be
he's
the
in a
worst
contract
option.
year. He's 29 years old. He's not.
Uh-oh.
This is his contract year. They haven't.
There we go. We got him back.
So I just feel like they might try to get something out of him before he walks next year.
Yeah. We lost you there for a second, Dabs. You went all Max Headroom.
Sorry, I'm way out of town now, so the internet's not very good.
No, that's the first problem we've had today, so that's a good sign.
But yeah,
Thing
I
is,
just
they
think
believe in him enough to do that. You know, do you think they believe in Spears enough to take on that full role?
I don't know. I don't. He is a 3-down back, and he's better. He's been involved in the passing game more than Henry, which is the big deal for fantasy. Especially ours is a full point PPR, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're full PPR.
Yeah,
You got it right this week.
Or a week in a row, we asked.
Every week.
That is a huge deal when it comes to target share for running backs.
Yeah. That's why Stevenson was so good last year.
Yeah, they're just not using Derrick Henry, and that's their offense. I mean, what? I don't know what the fuck they're thinking.
I don't get it either.
That's so frustrating as a Titans fan.
I can imagine.
Tannehill
the only thing I can say is, has he lost such a step that they're just putting him on the field because people are afraid of him, but they know he can't really do anything?
I don't know.
Like,
He did miss a day or two of practice last week with a toe-related injury, but I don't know if that had any. But he didn't play, so I guess it wasn't really the toe. They just didn't. I don't know how many yards he had against Cleveland too.
Practices are a sham. That's what we were talking about earlier, right?
Well, I haven't seen much of Spears this season, but I'm probably going to say it's probably better that they do that just because Henry's getting up there in age and it's just a ticking time bomb before he gets injured or he retires or whatever ends up happening. So, I mean, their team, they got to do something different, you know, so they need something in return. They need upgrades if they want to do anything this year. If not, just prep for next year.
Yeah, I think they're going to prep for next year, which I don't know. They're going to be – Vrabel is very competitive, their coach, so we'll see. But I don't know.
Real quick, while we're talking about a little bit of the future here, here's our pick'em sheet for this week. If you are a sub on my channel, you get to play against us, the four of us, and the rest of the THF Hub community in the Discord for absolutely free. So if you're a sub, message me your picks for the week. Don't forget to include the Monday Night Football points for the Seattle Giants game. Guess the total amount of points that are going to be scored there. That's the tiebreaker. We got Januviel still on top for the season at 32 points, 66%, 66.7% correct. I took a big leap up this week and now have 29 at 60.4%, which Daddy Dabs has also got the same number. I had to catch up to him this week.
But I noticed you put yourself in the second slot, but even though I could be in the second slot.
That was just pure accident.
Yeah. Okay. You know, it's fine. We'll just let the stats speak for themselves.
It might just be seniority. I don't know. And then we got Firestorm not too far down there, but
we're getting back into it. We're getting back in.
Yeah, you had a good week.
Season.
For sure.
I was down by like 10 picks last week, so we're back.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
That was a really good week. I mean, yeah, so for the week, it was me on top, Firestorm, Januviel, and Dabs was the bottom score for the week.
Not a good week for me.
He didn't want to talk about it. We made him talk about it. I win. And in our fantasy football league, these were the results for week 2. The last of our first set rivalry weeks This was the third game against just division opponents.
And I am 0-3.
Ooh, 0-3.
Yeah.
So at 0-3, are you in panic mode? Are you already rebuilding for next year? Or are you going to try to come back in this thing?
I mean, I'm going to try to. It is a long season. Most of people in the league will lose 3 games at some point in the season. So
yeah,
we do have 1 3-0 team, the Philly Special. That's headhunting teams, and two in the pink is the other. 2 in the pink
3.
with a huge 3.
Jeffersons.
Oh, the Jeffersons. The Jeffersons.
Yeah, fucking Brian.
Fucking Brian. God bless it. Is he even in the chat? Where is this guy? He's dominating the league. He doesn't hesitate to say that in the Discord. But where is he on the podcast?
Oh,
Come on, Brian.
I forgot.
Show yourself. I love that. Fucking Brian.
That's what you need a shirt of.
We'll get that. How's everybody else doing? How are you feeling about your team right now? Firestorm, you got to go first.
I'm still trying to figure out my bench. I have some pretty good wide receiver depth, but it's hard to decide who to flex. I have a really weird. It's really weird with the matchups this week because it's like all of my flex players are facing dog shit teams, so it's like I want to play all of them, but I know it's probably not worth it. One thing I'm really noticing is there is no depth with tight end. If you don't have one of the top 5 tight ends, top 6 tight ends, if you're lucky, you're getting single digits to tight end.
Have any of the tight ends been consistent yet, except for Kelsey?
Mine has.
Who?
Evan Ingram is Mr. Reliable.
Has he been?
He has a low ceiling, but a higher floor than most tight ends. So
I just feel like the tight end position has been
like 8 to 12 points from him a week, but you're not going to see like a 20-point game. So
yeah. And sometimes that's all you need if you got a right team around him, right? Fantasy is all about numbers. That's all it is. So sometimes taking that guaranteed 10 to 15 points is better than having a player that gets a goose egg, T. Higgins, week 1.
Yeah.
And then puts up 40 something points like in week 3 or week 2. It was like the Tale of Two Cities, bro. The guy wrote the book. It was like, what the hell? So yeah, sometimes a player like Ingram can be better if you can build a team around. The tight end's always the most volatile position because so many tight ends get lost in the scheme of a game as a blocker. And even the best ones, Jason Witten was a product of that. And he's a Hall of Fame tight end for the Cowboys. And he got lost in those certain schemes. He'd be blocking the whole damn game and wouldn't get any passes.
The year I started fantasy football 18 years ago, up until he retired, Jason Witten was my tight end every single year. Because he was reliable. He was reliable.
Yeah, he was the safety blanket in most games for Romo. I mean, they called him that on every game. Every game you heard Jim Nantz. Yep, Jason Witten, safety valve for Tony Romo. It's like, God bless it.
Yeah.
Got annoyed hearing about it all the time.
Hawkinson's been great. He got paid, so now he's playing a little bit better,
Yeah. And that team has a lot of competition. There's a lot of good players on there for reception. So the fact he still does really good, he's a great tight end for sure.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he's probably the best tight end right now. Like, I know Kelsey's great, but Hawkinson has been super steady this week or these past 3 weeks.
Yeah. Luke Musgrave is not. He's a. I don't know if he's available in our league, but he's a one to watch out for.
I think he is. He is available.
rookie.
That's definitely one thing we need to hurry up and talk about, because we are over an hour already, and we're trying to keep it down to an hour. Who are the pickups on the waiver wire that we need to be looking at this week?
I was like,
All
nothing.
right. Well, I can go through here and talk about some, because I know a lot of deep picks, even though don't want to give all of them away, but whatever. We already know, Mike Williams got injured, so everyone's going to be trying to get Joshua Palmer or Quentin Johnston, which are two great options to pick up because the Chargers are super pass heavy, and so there's a lot of upside there. In our league, Romeo Doubs is still there. He's not a bad pickup for Green Bay. If you're really desperate for a tight end, you could try and pick up Parham. He did have only 2 targets last game, but one of them was a touchdown, and that's mainly where they use him, is in the end zone. So it's a risky play, but if you don't have anyone else, you can pick yourself up him. Also, if you're really steady, need a wide receiver on your bench with some high upside, you could try Josh Downs. He got 8 receptions and 12 targets. And depending on how the rest of the season goes, you could see that go up potentially, depending on how Indy does, especially when their quarterback gets healthy again.
How many yards did he get?
Let's see. He got 57.
8 for 57. Well, that's not great, but
yeah, it's not great. But leagues like ours, he's literally one of the only receivers at the top of the list.
But I mean, yeah, in a full PPR league, it doesn't matter when you get 8. When you get 8 catches,
that's still 13 points, which is
12 targets. You could add 4 more.
Yeah,
and that's on Indy.
No, Downs was on my list too of pickups, so I agree with you.
DJ Chark probably not going to repeat the same because it's not reliable, but you can pick him up. You could try Rashee Rice. Everett is available on our league, which he probably shouldn't be, but I feel like rest of the season, it's more of a me thing. I feel like he could do very well, especially since Mike Williams is out. It could be a toss-up between Joshua Palmer and Gerald Everett getting more receptions, so you could take a gamble with one of those 2 guys, especially if you need a tight end, because he looks
Keenan Allen's going to need a number 2.
Yeah,
Keenan Allen's not going to put up 200 yards without a Mike Williams caliber number 2. So somebody's going to have to step up in that offense. Otherwise, Keenan Allen is a sell high this week, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's interesting, especially with his age. There's a lot of risk factors. He always gets injured. He was injured for a while last year.
He's injury prone. Yeah, if you ask him to take too much on, yeah, it's gonna be tough for Keenan Allen owners right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if any of you 3 are looking for a wide receiver, I'm going to try to get rid of Garrett Wilson for a running back.
It's a little bit too late to try and trade him high, but I do like the guy. He's great. So,
yeah. If you're looking for a kicker, Chris Boswell. He's trending upwards. So, Pittsburgh seems to be figuring themselves out. So you might want to, and they're facing Houston this week. So there's a possibility he'll be scoring quite a bit.
I tell you what, it always seems like at the beginning of the season too. Teams are struggling in the red zone. Kickers are getting a lot of extra points right now. I didn't expect the kicker for Dallas to be anybody this year, but
yeah,
Cowboys struggles in the red zone.
He was a soccer star in college, so I'm not surprised. He might end up being kicker 1 by the end of the season.
I'm not surprised he's doing good. I'm surprised he's getting as much action as he's getting.
Yeah, I lost in one of my other leagues because Evan McPherson put up 18 points, and I was only up by 12 at the start of that game. So yeah, you're not joking. Some of these kickers are outperforming, flex offensive players. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, that's the nature of the game right now.
Welcome to the NFL.
Yep.
Yeah, the that kicker for the Philadelphia Eagles, man, he gets like 2 or 3 field goals every game and like 4 extra points or 3 extra points is ridiculous. Like if you had him on your fantasy team this year, he'd be carrying you. Same thing with the Rams kicker you were just talking about. I mean, getting kickers like that on teams that can never get to the end zone but always almost get there is like the best sweet spot, you know. That's the best. Why I like Nick Folk. Besides last week, he's been doing pretty good.
Big kick, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Former Cowboy great.
Former Patriot great. Former every team in the league great. He's been everywhere.
He's been passed around.
Yeah.
He's the Taylor Swift of the NFL. Whoa. Not shots fired.
Oh yeah, there was one more guy I wanted to talk about. I can't remember his name on the top of my head. The backup wide receiver for the Ravens, Aguilar. Yeah, that's his name. Aguilar put up 17 points in week 2 and 8 points in week 3. With all the injuries, should we pick him up? Should we stash him? What do you guys think about Aguilar?
I mean, he's a former Patriot. He didn't do shit when he was with us, but like you said, opportunistic. If he's he could be a good flex spot, you know, if he and Lamar can make something happen. But
he's a journeyman wide receiver. I mean, he was with Philadelphia before the Patriots. He's that guy that he only shows up when the people ahead of him get injured. I think he's kind of that guy that he can fill a role in the right circumstance, but he's not fantasy worthy when the team is healthy. Yeah,
from a fantasy perspective, I think a lot of people this season are having problems in depth with running backs and tight ends more than wide receiver. It seems like there's, other than the major starter injuries, it seems like it's way easier to pick up a diamond in the rough wide receiver than it is to find a running back or a tight end that
look how many teams are now like running back by committee, so you can't like commit to one guy because they're splitting target shares and all that stuff. So
and then it immediately goes to a committee if the starter gets hurt. If the big dog goes down, the next 3 guys all step up at once. That's at least game plan.
That's not fantasy friendly.
No,
that's why a lot of people have been going super wide receiver heavy the past couple of years because of just how inconsistent it can be unless you have a top guy.
I've been doing that for several years now because I just don't, I've got Eckler. I got my one. Of course, I haven't had him the last couple of weeks, but I got my one really good running back, and I'm good with that. And everything else is wide receiver. In my other league, in my auction league, I spent like over 2/3 of my money on 3 wide receivers, and everything else was to fill in the blanks, so like wide receiver. I mean, that's another strategy that's been real popular lately is the no RB draft, 0 RB draft. Like you just don't draft them in leagues that don't require you to draft every position. And you go heavy on where you can get guaranteed points.
Yeah, especially in like best ball because it's just about how much upside you can get, and there's way more upside with receivers. It's just how it is.
Yeah, it's been like that every year because I'm normally not drafting at the top of the draft. So if I'm drafting at the top of the draft, I don't hesitate to take a stud running back. If I'd love to have my hands on CMC or who wouldn't? But if I don't have a shot at him, I'm not wasting a whole lot of time for second fiddle. I'm just going to go to the top of the wide receiver chart.
So I have an interesting topic too. I was thinking about it. I just mentioned this to Wakko earlier today. Back to the topic about the Dallas Cowboys losing to the Cardinals. Next week, their matchup is against the 49ers. Which I think would be a huge telltale story if the Cardinals somehow pulled out a magic trick and actually beat the 49ers. Because if the 49ers go and then they beat the Cardinals, I mean, what does that say? I mean, okay, well, that 49ers are better than the Cowboys, right? I mean, everyone knows. But what if the Cardinals actually do? win against the 49ers. I think this is
or
gonna be
even put up a good
matchup.
show, a good game. Even if let's just say they do what they did with New York and the game is close, but they lose it in the end.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be a shellacking. I think the 49ers are just going to destroy.
I think that was a fluke. I wish we had more time because I actually wanted to bring this up, but I kind of want to go over the top 5 worst teams in everyone's opinion. But I think we should spend the whole segment on that. And
let's table that for next week.
Let's table it for next week. 4 weeks in, we'll have a better sample size.
Boltman, I'll talk Jonathan Taylor with me.
I'm coming with a new segment too, which is pretty much what you're talking about, Firestorm. I'm coming with a segment for a team's tier list where everyone can get mad at my picks, and then we can all discuss it. So it'll be fun.
I've seen his rough draft,
Barstool style.
Yeah, I saw his rough draft, and I like it. I think it'd be a good segment. So we'll bring that to the table next week.
Cool.
Last thing, and we'll get out of here. We did have some Monday Night Football squares. Nobody won on the Monday Night Football squares this week. So I've made next week's Monday Night Football squares buy one get one free. 100 biddies on my streams get you 2 squares instead of 1 if anybody wants to play. And it's up to 8,000 V-bucks if you're a Fortnite guy. So
damn, that's a lot of V-bucks. I could buy you like 1 skin.
They're getting expensive, aren't they?
Yep.
But yeah, having some money on the line sometimes makes Monday Night Football a little bit more fun to keep up with. So.
Yep. All right, so real quick to close out the segment, which we're circling back to. So the primetime parlay, 4 legs. Each of us chose one. We have Cincinnati Bengals on the money line winning outright. We have the under 43.5 points total at the Falcons and Jaguars game. We have the over 41.5 Sam Laporta total receiving yards in the Lions Green Bay game. And we have Justin Jefferson anytime touchdown. $10 placed in a 4-leg parlay in those states where it's legal will win you $104.77. So going to place that bet. I'll post these in the Discord, so anyone who wants to take a look and if they want to play along, they're welcome to. And we'll hopefully keep the luck from last week flowing into this week. So
let's freaking go. I love it. Yeah, please post that in the Discord so we can all get a hold of that and see what our bet is. Last thing, extra point. Anybody got an extra point?
I think the Texans are my dark horse pick for this year, and I think they're not going to be the greatest team ever, but I think they're going to beat the Steelers next week. So that was going to be my pick if I didn't do Sam Laporta. So let's see if it picks up. I think the Texans are a super interesting topic for next week if they win.
Sure.
I'm right.
My extra point is I hope you guys have extra toilet paper for that Denver-Chicago game because it's going to be full of crap.
Yeah.
It's going to be some of the worst football you'll ever see in your life.
Oh, my God. Or the best, the funniest, goofiest football you ever seen. Either way, we're all going to watch it because we love football, so it doesn't matter if it's terrible or not.
That's the kind of game that it wouldn't surprise you if it was 3-6 at the end of the game or like 48-32. Like it could go either way. The teams are so bad. They could struggle or they could just dunk all over each other back and forth. It's like you have no idea what's going to happen. Last thing I got to say is go Cowboys. And for the week, fuck you, Ray.
I will say
we will see. We should have an
is
interesting
legit.
episode next week, hopefully.
Oh my God. It's gonna, yeah. This is good. I like it. This is what we get, right? What'd you say, Dabs?
My extra point is that pay attention to Cleveland's defense because they are legit.
For sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Jim Schwartz got the Browns on the move, so
no argument there. All right, boys, we want to do a little awkward wave time and call it a night.
All right.
Later, y'all.